on this fine first frost of the fall morning. I hope everyone is enjoying it and staying warm. I think this will be a pretty succinct meeting. We've got a bunch on the agenda, but some of it's very quick. So we'll jump in. If there's anything else, just send a text and we'll make sure we add it. The minutes first, though. Well, Maureen, do you want to take attendance?
Sure.
Thank you.
Supervisor Adams may be a little late, but she's planning on coming. I have John Bradley, Supervisor Collins, Terrence Duval, Suzanne Slum, Dan Haas has notified, Supervisor Hotling. No, not yet. Kara Humphrey, Claudia Tenney, Supervisor not notified. Wendy Madsen. Is Wendy here? Okay. I have Bill Mancini,
Yep, I'm here.
Don Mills, Matthew Mercier, Chairman Newman, Michael O'Hara. I have Patrice Perry, Jennifer Phillips, Steve Powers. He will be on the meet with earbuds. Jolene Race. Okay. Jody Rail, Bruce Schenker notified, and Matt Stitchcomb. I see Christina, Tara. Is Audrey here with us today? Audrey Kropp?
I believe yes.
I just saw her on.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you.
And I
think
see
we're all
Matt.
set.
Matt is on, Maureen, and Wendy
Oh,
Madsen
great. Matt
also.
Stitchcomb?
Yep, I see him there.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
I have him down.
And then Wendy texted that her mic's not working, but she's on.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'm here.
good.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Her mic is working.
Okay, great. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Maureen.
You're
Minutes.
welcome.
Any comments on the minutes from last month? Great. We just need a motion and a second to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Bill.
I'll second, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any opposed? Please speak up. Make noise with your anything. Okay, great. All in favor then, approved. So let's just jump in. I don't think there's much of an update, Don, on the clean energy program. I mean, the good news is we continue to collect. There are installs going on all the time. Do you have an update, or is Christina
yeah.
available to make one, to provide one? Go ahead, Don.
For the grants, just everything is making its way through. The $15,000 for the purchase of the landscaping equipment going through the committees, and it should be hopefully approved by the board. I think this week or next week, whenever that is. We are gearing up to start the process for applying for the next pair of grants for the Tier 2 Heat Smart and the heat pump demo. We are waiting for some planning to be done by the engineering department to determine what we have to provide a estimate of the cost. So that's what we're waiting for with that grant. And Christina, I don't know how close we are to the Tier 3 level, but we have been talking. I've started some discussions on how we might spend that money once that comes in. And one of the few things left that we would be able to spend on would be to actually purchase some EV vehicles. So I've been talking to the controller and purchasing department on what's involved with getting some specs on those vehicles, and we've just started this discussion about that. So
Great.
we're on our way.
Christina.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Don.
so as of this morning, I think we're at Tier 3. I just got a new dump of data like 10 minutes ago, so I'm trying to make sure there's no doubles from the things I've gotten from the town, but we're at either 28 or 30 new installs. So would be eligible for tier 3. If not today, by next week for sure. I
Okay.
know there's a few pending, so that's another $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
So Don, go on your shopping spree, buy some cars.
Yeah.
I'm curious if the CEC money can be combined with those ZEV grants for EVs, because that covers 80% of
For the DEC, no, DEC
No.
can't be combined with DEC money. No.
That's too bad. But we, yeah, those are the ZEV grants active now, or they become active like later on in the year, or Tara may be on. She could probably answer that question. Matthew.
That's a great question. I think you have to. I think
Sorry,
they close in December or September. So I think they open in May and close in September. I'd have to
Okay.
look to confirm, but
Okay. We should look into that, especially if there's other funding going into, maybe they can't be used together, but they could be used
Yeah.
complementary.
Separate
in a
vehicles.
complementary way, I'm sure. What's that, Don?
On separate vehicles, they probably.
Yeah. Yeah, perhaps that could work that way. And I understand that, the county might be interested in putting in some of its own resources. So maybe that would work for one of those grants. Thanks, Tara. Matthew.
Hi, yeah, good morning. I just had a question about the EV chargers that we're putting in. Are those going to be municipal chargers for the lawn equipment that we're going to get, or vice versa?
Well, that would be for
tried to look it up.
It would be for any EV vehicles that we purchase in the future. So we've identified 3 or 4 locations around the county that we park vehicles at now. And we need an estimate of what those chargers would cost in order to apply for the grant. So that's where we are now. And I'm not sure, I've been having some discussions with the engineer. I'm not sure if we have to have like go through an official RFP process to generate those estimates or not. That's where we are with that, with the EV charger.
Is that
process.
so forgive me, that's I mean, are there 2 different EV projects in place, or when we talk about talking to Price Chopper and stuff like that, that's for
That's a separate
different.
action.
That's
Okay.
that's for the DC fast chargers, the level 3 chargers that we're hoping to get more of installed. And that we haven't been making much progress there. We've reached out. I will check in with Supervisor Simmons in Ghent. He's been kind of the point person reaching out to Price Chopper there, because there was some progress there. But anyway, I can do a quick update, which is there is no update there. We continue to reach out to the corporate entities, and we haven't yet made any kind of inroads there to get an interested party so we could have a more in-depth conversation. But that is a separate effort.
Okay. And the CEC money will be used towards the municipal stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else on great news? Anything else on clean energy, on the grants or on the clean heating campaign? Okay.
I would just encourage everyone to talk to their code enforcement officer who hasn't. That's really brought in a lot of these, just from the couple towns that have given me that data, and I appreciate it so much. We're, once we reach tier 3 for the county, that's all we need for the county. I don't think we need to keep tracking for countywide, but I will keep tracking through the few that report to me and letting the towns know. But I really think as much as you can talk to your code enforcement officer, it'll help the towns within the countywide get to your goals faster.
Great, thanks. Okay, Don, you want to give us an update on the regional greenhouse gas inventory process?
Yeah, sure.
Grant program.
So I went up with Tara and met with Tara and the other folks at the CDRPC on October 18th. And we're discussing this, the climate action plan, the priority climate action plan that we agreed we would join forces with them and develop this regional climate action plan. And, at first I wasn't sure why they were dividing this up into what they call a priority climate action plan and then a comprehensive action plan, why they needed this initial one. But maybe, they are providing some funding based on what's in our initial priority climate action plan. And it's a substantial amount of money. So it's funded through the EPA. Called the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants, a total of $4.3 billion spread over, all of the United States, 30 to 115 individual grants ranging between $2 million and $500 million. So we're looking at, large projects. And the applications for that grant program are due April 1st. So that's why we need this, any projects that we may apply for have to be included in this initial priority climate action plan. So that's why, they wanted that priority one done so soon. So just some initial info. I've been, again, looking through this 50 or 60 page grant notification document. Just they're going to score these projects based on a few things. And they mentioned, implement ambitious measures that will achieve significant reductions by 2030 and beyond, and pursue measures that will achieve substantial community benefits, particularly in low income and disadvantaged communities, and pursue initiatives or innovative policies and programs that are replicable and can be scaled up across multiple jurisdictions. So those are just some of the bullet points I pulled out of the things that they're looking for. They mentioned,
Don, I just want to ask a quick question.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
So this the priority climate action plan is, I don't know if it's cursory, but it's a rapid kind of quick and dirty plan so that there is a plan from which to apply to the grant programs. Is that right?
Yeah.
So when is that expected to be completed? And is there any room or opportunity or need for our input as one of the municipalities within the larger region?
Right. Well, this initial grant application is due April 1st, and any projects that we apply for have to be included in the priority plan, which is due March 1st, a month before that. So we have until March 1st to come up with some large, innovative, cutting edge projects that we may want to include in this initial priority plan.
Right.
And it could be, they mentioned, could be a program, policies, incentives, standards, projects. So you read through the document and it's pretty broad. So trying to generate some ideas, I guess.
And where are we with the actual action, this priority action plan? Who's doing it? How is it being done? Is there any need or opportunity for input from us? And then I also have similar questions about the actual how the region is selecting and developing ideas for the grant.
Yes. So CDRP has hired a couple of consultants. Derek could probably mention who they are. I forget, the actual consultants that they've hired to help with this pretty ambitious project. And they have reached out and sent, we are going to meet again in November sometime. We don't have an exact date yet, but they have asked for some input from us as far as an initial list of strategies and initial list of specific projects that might fit in with those strategies as a starting point.
And when you say, I see your hand there. Sorry. When you say they've reached out to ask us, who are they? Is it just you, or are there a group of people in the county? How do we as a task force participate in that process? I mean, I know that when we get to the comprehensive plan, which is, obviously a more involved process, more deliberate, and will take more time, there'll be opportunities for all of us to help bring stakeholders throughout the county to the table to make sure that input is sought and received. And that's why I go back to my question: is it really necessary for a lot of input right now? Are there opportunities? Would it be beneficial if we could, as a task force, discuss this, see whatever documentation's out there, and give our input?
I think Tara can fill in a few of these blanks here, but I think initially we're just looking for some initial ideas for, make sure that we have the list of strategies complete and come up with some ideas for projects. But again, and when I talked about this with Patrice, we weren't sure what what would the county need to do in order to actually make sure that we are a part of this project. Because I don't think the board has actually passed a resolution saying that we are, once this initial plan is developed, I would assume we would like the board of supervisors to adopt it or pass a resolution that supports it in some way.
Right.
Tara?
It seems
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Tara, maybe you could add a little bit
Yeah,
of
sure.
context here.
Sure,
Thanks.
yeah. So CDRPC is doing this. We are working with the Climate Action Associates and Planning for Places, two firms, to help kind of pull together this PCAP. And Don was invited on behalf of Columbia County to represent the county in this PCAP process, which is just quick and, obviously very quick, as well as 7 other municipalities in the capital region that really have shown leadership, I would say, in this type of work, and recognizing that all of you are from towns in Columbia County that have shown leadership, but we had to kind of narrow it down because there's so many of you there. So we've got, Columbia County, Albany County, somebody from Saratoga Springs, somebody from Lake George, somebody from Cohoes. So there's kind of a good mix of people that have kind of taken this step. And we provided Don with a template, basically, and all the communities with a template to kind of provide feedback, because this plan isn't something that we're doing that we're saying you must do this. We're saying, what is everyone doing with your own types of climate action planning, and how can we incorporate those strategies into a regional plan, realizing that plan is not going to be something that is going to have authority to tell municipalities what they should do. We're just gathering all of the kind of stuff that's happening. And we wanted to, of course, include Columbia County in that effort. So we're looking for strategies, as Don mentioned, that kind of, summarize what the goals are for Columbia County. So how you guys are approaching things. If you don't have a climate action plan yet, some of the communities we're working with do, so they're going to be pulling right from that. But if that's something you wanted to kind of hone in on, if not, that's fine. If you guys don't have that worked out yet, but making sure that you're aware of these implementation grants that Don mentioned, and the opportunity for these minimum $2 million grants that are, national grants and pretty competitive, to be able to put in an application as part of that process. So I hope that answers some questions.
Is the thought that the application would be done as one region, or there would be potentially multiple applications within the region?
Great question. Although we can't, obviously there can be as many applications in any region in New York State as people want to put in. But we're recognizing that there's 4.6 billion. If you divide that up by how the EPA is saying they're going to award grants, we're anticipating maybe 2 grants in New York State total. So we're looking for some pretty innovative, robust projects that would really pass the test, I think, for this pretty, I think, competitive grant process. So, so things like heat pumps and town halls, probably not going to be competitive, but, right now we're looking at potentially a direct loop system with the city of Albany, and kind of having a geothermal system there. That would be a multi-million-dollar project, maybe upwards of 200 million. And that could be competitive, but of course there could be other projects that apply as well. And we want to make sure we're referencing those in our climate plan so that they can have a chance of getting funded.
Okay, still have more questions, but Denali, you've had your hand up for a while.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. I was just, as far as the funding stream, I was just going to pose that maybe we could look at the expansion of public transportation. It's something that Supervisor Chimides and I went in front of Dee Dee Barrett for funding that we didn't get on the state budget. But it's also something that Supervisor Simmons, Hoatling, and Adams and I have been working on for a pipeline from Hudson all the way out to New Lebanon. So I think the less cars on the road may be better. We are working on the routes, but it would be nice to have a dedicated funding stream there moving ahead. So I don't know if that's something that could fall in that bucket, but it seems like it would be a noble cause.
Yeah, that's great. And then the other thought that I had when I heard about this from Don last week was the rail trail. And if it's part of I mean, that's maybe not innovative enough. I don't know. I think it's pretty innovative if it's connecting regionally, and it's not just a little bit of a trail here and a little bit there. Of course, we have the Empire Trail, which already connects into the county. And we've got the Harlem Valley Trail, which is connecting up toward Chatham. And we've got a ways to go. But and then there's an opportunity to connect those two trails. At some point, maybe up in the Valatia area or some other point in the county. I think it would be difficult to come up with a comprehensive plan, that would be able to implement the finishing of the trail, because those are all being planned out right now. But perhaps there could be some funding, if it's part of a larger grant, toward planning how to actually connect those and finish those various pieces. It wouldn't be wouldn't necessarily be a lot of money, but if it was done for the entire region, it could be something. But I don't know if that would be innovative enough. I heard from Don that there's also discussion, back to Supervisor Collins' point, on mass transit up in the capital region. Is that right? There's a possible project there. So I wonder if something.
Yeah, they were talking about maybe some kind of a hydrogen bus purchase program, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they mentioned that it is projects can reduce GHG emissions, or they can enhance carbon removal. So I'm trying to wrap my head around how Columbia County kind of fits into, the more urban capital district region.
Mm-hmm.
And plus the fact that we don't have a cap in place that we can pull existing projects from. So it's a little more difficult for me to come up with ideas, because, we're just kind of starting out on that idea generation part, whereas a lot of other communities have already have some of these ideas generated. But
Mm-hmm.
just knowing that, the thing that Columbia County does have is a lot of farms and forests. So, I'm thinking project wise, maybe we fit in a little better with the carbon sequestration part of it rather than the emission removal part of it. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with some ideas of what we might think of. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. There's some good comments we'll get to in a minute, and also the two hands up. So Bill and then Susan.
Yeah, Don, as you were talking, I thought, I don't know for sure, but are there any other locations in the county where a hydro, a hydro plant could be put in a power plant like we have in, I think it's at Stockport, and then
Yeah.
there's a smaller one here in Valatia.
Mhm.
If there's any place in the county, like that, a waterfall, any others that are around that. That's just an idea. I'm not sure of any of it, but throw it out there.
Yeah, there are a few unused hydro locations that's a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, the old Columbia box board on 295.
Yep.
Susan.
Yes, this just popped into my head. I haven't obviously thought it through, but something with e-bikes that maybe also fits in with public transportation. I'm thinking e-bikes at train stations. You know, there's so many tourists in the county. You know, a method of getting around as opposed to having to drive a car up. So just put that in the mix.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. And then Jennifer, you had a comment, which I'll just read on, unless you want to elaborate on it. Public transit also has an equity and justice angle, and this is important and would be valuable in a larger effort. Absolutely. It sounds like, yeah, so there's a variety of ideas that are out here, from sequestering using natural climate solutions and farms and forests to some transportation system, mass transit system that we could develop in the county, and alternative transportation with alternative bikes and also with maybe trails. Thank you, Matthew. Tara.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one point of clarity for understanding this. It does have to be a municipality that applies for this grant. So understanding that like CDRPC, I think we're eligible to apply because we're doing the planning process, but we've decided that's not a role we want to take on as far as grant applications. So understanding that it would need to be the county or one of the towns, any town could apply, village could apply for this effort, but somebody would need to be the applicant.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing we've been thinking through is just that with the short timing of this, looking to projects and things that have studies or maybe have done some type of study to understand the cost of this, you know, all of those kind of almost shovel ready types of projects. And they also are pretty adamant that the funding can't be found elsewhere. So if this is something that the federal government would fund in some other program, it's not as likely to get funded. Just adding those points there.
So Tara, I'm hearing on the one hand, there might be a regional application, or maybe what you're thinking is there'll be one entity within the region that is likely to have a competitive project. On the other hand, you know, folks are free to apply. And if we wanted to do something that was specific for us, we would be applying as a county, let's say.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's no regional application going in.
No, not unless there's this big effort where maybe it's transportation, maybe it's the Capital District Transportation Authority and they're working with multiple municipalities. It could be something like that, but
yeah. It sounds daunting, to be honest, to have something that's that large and also ready, because we don't have a plan in place. I don't want to sound negative about it. It's just the reality is it sounds daunting to be able to put together a compelling project that feels ready for prime time and can compete nationally, but certainly worth brainstorming. And if nothing else, it allows us to start thinking big about what types of projects we would like to see in the years to come and how that might inform our climate action planning. I mean, everything that's been mentioned here are great ideas. Don, you're going to continue to participate in this process, right?
Yeah, yes. And I'd also add that, this is the chatter that I've heard since I took on this position is, this is, climate. This is where any future funding is going to be based on how well we do with our climate planning. And this is an example of that, I think. So, and it's not. There will be a comprehensive regional climate action plan after this too. And all these projects that we generate will be included in that. And I have to assume that this is not going to be the end of that funding source. That this is just probably the first phase of that funding. So, we can be involved in this process. Maybe we don't, maybe we don't get one of the initial grants, but as long as we're, there will be more funding after this. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, and we'll
I don't
certainly
have the info on that, but it just makes sense. That.
Yeah, certainly we're learning about how this might work for
Yeah.
the county, and we're generating ideas. So it doesn't. I'm still a little confused as to what this priority climate action plan will look like. Some municipalities have climate action plans already. They don't need that. They can use those. Some, like ours, don't have anything. So we're trying to create something. Whether or not we apply for a grant, but the priority plan is in service of a grant, really. So I'm a little confused as to whether this regional effort is putting together a cursory plan for the county, for the region. Okay, so it's
Full
a
region,
priority.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like we should put our energy into the comprehensive plan that's coming after the greenhouse gas inventory is completed. But this is a very short timeline. I'm not sure how much we can inform this plan. It would be nice to see the process and understand what what information you're gathering as part of that priority plan. So it'd be good to distribute that so folks could see it on the task force. There may be some opportunity for us to discuss it in December or before then. I'd like to see whatever information's been sent out to try to gather ideas for that planning process, so that we can at least, at the very least, we start thinking about what our comprehensive plan looks like by starting to think about the planning process. But perhaps we also can have some important input to this priority planning process.
Yeah, and John, you can feel free to share that template with the task force if you'd
Yeah,
like. And
yeah, I will spread it around.
Great. And then in terms of the greenhouse gas inventory, the timing, and also the timing of the subsequent comprehensive planning process, Tara, could you just give us a quick update on that, and so we understand how that will work and how we, as a county, will have an opportunity to kind of develop either input to that broad process and/or develop our own distinct plan out of that process?
yeah, absolutely. So as you can
Thanks.
imagine, with this short timeline right now, we're trying to focus on the plan. And the way we're doing that is we're using the existing 2010 greenhouse gas inventory that the county submitted as part of their climate smart certification, and some towns have used as well. After that's done, so April, we're going to dive into the updated greenhouse gas inventory, which I believe will probably be the baseline 2023 at that point, where we are. I mean, it's a massive effort, but it's going to be basically every county, town, village, city is going to have their own individual data for this inventory. We're also creating a dashboard right now that's going to be pretty cool. So it'll be hosted on our website where people can go in and see that data at any point. Once we have the new data, we will be able to compare the new and the old data, kind of get some insights into emissions in your community and where they're coming from and what sources they're coming from and what sectors. So, yeah, and that's not something obviously we need too much input on, because the data is the data and it's all available, but we will value the process of every town, village, city in the comprehensive climate action plan that we will base off of that inventory. So we'll definitely be reaching out to everybody to kind of get some input there.
And what's the timing of all of this?
Yeah, so the grant goes through 2025, but we are intending to have I think the inventory done by the end of 2024. So, and then obviously it's on to climate action planning. So we think we'll probably have it done in a couple of years. And then what we do with the remainder of that time that we're funded by the EPA, I think it'll be a lot of outreach and things like that, but we can keep everyone posted on that timeline.
So the inventory by the end of 2024, and then subsequent to that, the planning process and the development of these plans. So really that's calendar 2025 that we're talking about actually digging into the planning process. Is there any work that we can do in advance of that would help provide input to that process? This does seem you know, it's over a year away. I wonder if there's an opportunity for us to do that. I mean, we could start our own process, of course.
Yeah, that's definitely something some communities are doing, is starting their own process. And again, we're not creating a plan. We're just taking all the ideas from other plans that are happening throughout the region. That's really our goal in this, is to not, reinvent the wheel of what's happening on the ground. Using all the other organizations. If you can think of organizations we should connect with that can provide information on how they're achieving, emissions reductions, how they intend to, that's all things we want to incorporate in the plan, as well as municipal government operations. So thinking about the community as well, this is a community inventory and who is doing what, especially if they're big emissions users, getting connected with them. So that makes sense for sure.
Yeah. So just one last question on the plan. You just said just for clarification, you're not creating a plan, but there will be a planning process. So I'm trying to just understand how much you will be doing and how much we need to be doing either in advance or after that. Is this process going to help us develop our own plan? Is it going to be something that, actually actively develops a plan with our input? Or is it really just a summary of the existing activities that are happening throughout the region to kind of describe the planning, the climate action plans that are out there?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I mean, most of it's going to be summary, I think, of what's happening in the region. But there are some sectors that I think we're going to have to really dive into that maybe won't be covered. In all of these, especially things like transportation, where it's a bit more regional aspect and approach to this. And I guess we haven't really thought through yet how we're going to approach that comprehensive climate action planning and how we're going to get municipal input. So just stay tuned on kind of what our process is.
It does sound like we need to be making plans to do our own plan. Sorry about that. We need to develop our own process here where we are generating our own ideas and not waiting for something to be developed for us. That makes sense. So, I mean, I'm hoping that we can spend time, on this next year in advance. One other question. So we need to discuss that as a group as to whether we want to, really dive in and what that would look like. And if we need additional resources to help support that process. The one question on the greenhouse gas inventory, Tara, you mentioned sources. Will there be a recognition of sinks in the region?
Yes, we do intend to dive into that, and that wasn't in the 2010 inventory. So, that'll definitely be in there. And to your point, I mean, yes, this isn't a climate action plan for Columbia County, but the data, I think, is going to be a big thing for you guys. You will have updated data, so you won't have to do your own community greenhouse gas inventory. It's just a matter of kind of timing that out with when we finish that, which again should be the end of next year. So.
Well, maybe next year we're involved more in, generating ideas and gathering information. And then when we get the data from the inventory, we can really focus in on prioritization based on, where emissions stand and where we think we can get the biggest bang for our buck. Just thinking out loud. Any other thoughts? Thank you, Tara, for all that information. And Don, any other thoughts on this? Okay. To be continued. When is your next meeting?
We haven't planned it yet, so Don doesn't have that on his calendar.
All right, great. Well, we'll keep everyone updated. And Don, you're gonna distribute that information.
Yeah, I'll send it around. Yeah.
Thank
sure.
you. Okay. CARP. We go from action plan to adaptation. So the twin plans. Audrey, can you give us an update? I know you've been very busy with listening sessions.
Sure. Yes. We held the second of the two workshops that we had planned for this the planning process. So the first was the vulnerability assessment workshop, and then this second workshop was a adaptation strategies and visioning workshop. So at this point, we got a lot of great input and did some work on brainstorming and initial crafting of vision statements for the county as well as each municipality. We're compiling our notes and everything, and probably next week going to be sending out some draft vision statements to each municipality to have them take a look at it, but also shop it around within their communities. And we're really encouraging everybody to try to reach out to those generally marginalized or underrepresented portions of your communities. So if you can try to get, some input from those folks that often don't have a chance to provide it. So then we're going to be pulling together what we got to on the strategies. We'll probably be reaching out to those municipalities that didn't quite get to eat all of their vulnerabilities to have them continue the process within their CACs or, climate smart communities task forces, to have you continue developing strategies to address those vulnerabilities. Now that everybody kind of understands how we can kind of go about it. And we did we provided a lot of resources and information on the types of adaptation strategies and ways that communities can adapt to climate change. So we're moving right along, and it's been a great experience. And I have to say the workshops were really went really well, very successful. And I appreciate everybody's input and commitment and participation in those. I do have a very quick opportunity that I want to throw out there. This is an opportunity for any municipality within both Columbia and Greene counties. We are currently in the process of developing proposals for a contract that we have with the Hudson River Estuary Program. It's an annual contract that we develop proposals to engage communities with Climate Smart Communities program and take certain adaptation actions. So we are offering the opportunity to do the CART process for those Columbia County municipalities that didn't participate. And then I just wanted to quickly go through a list of things that maybe if you're interested, there is an opportunity to do this with our support next year. So, and also don't limit yourself to thinking about what maybe the county might like to do on the county level, what maybe your task force might want to engage in. So one of them, and I'll talk a little bit more closely with Don, is to support a community in the update process for the hazard mitigation planning. So we would work with a municipality or the county to ensure that climate projections are included in the hazard mitigation plan. And if we're working with individual municipalities, to incorporate any local resiliency projects that might apply to that hazard mitigation planning process. And then we also could have the potential to work on a heat emergency plan. If your municipality or maybe on the county level is interested in something like that, that would be a planning process with, we would need to do some stakeholder input gathering and work on that. We also have the potential to do educational and engagement projects. So this is actually linked to PE9, which is the Climate Change Education and Engagement Action. So we could help to develop social media posts, as well as, website content for, climate resiliency and actions. We also, as part of this, can develop what we call a flood guide for residents and businesses. So this is a guide that we have a template for that can kind of be folded up and kept in somebody's house. You know, I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with the file of life that you can put on your refrigerator. It has your important contact information. So this guide has important information of what you can do to prepare for a flood, what to do in the event of a flood. It has emergency contact information. We also include a map with evacuation routes and, you know, flood prone roads within that document. And we can also work to develop like an emergency preparedness toolkit as well. So, and then those are the major ones. We also, it's always a timing thing with this one, but if communities are updating their comprehensive plan, we also have worked with communities to incorporate sustainability elements in your municipality's comprehensive plan. And we also can provide some support with climate-related public events, which is pretty narrow on that one. But I just wanted to make sure everybody knew this opportunity was there and let you know that it's a quick turnaround. Our proposals will need to be submitted by November 17th with a letter of support. Doesn't need to be a resolution, official resolution or anything like that, but will need a letter of support from the municipality that is interested. So if there is any interest, please feel free to get in touch with me, and I can work to help create a template, letter of support, and you know, give you any details if you're interested.
Great. That's great. Thank you. Jennifer, then John.
Hi, Audrey. Is that
Hi.
a one-time thing, or will that, I mean, that turnaround time is probably too soon for some people, but is that gonna come up again, or is this just a one-shot thing?
We, since 2013, have had an annually updated contract to do this work. So as far as you know, we understand that funding has stayed stable. So each year we propose projects for the next year. So it's very likely we will have opportunities available next year as well.
Great.
Into 2025.
Thank you.
John?
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of pick up on something Audrey said and also Don earlier. I know in our community and also in the adaptation discussions we had last week, figuring out how to reach out to the community and sort of engage people is sort of one of the most difficult challenges, because we have 2, 3, 4 projects that are going on, and how do we reach out? We want to be able to reach out, but so finding some way regionally or countywide or whatever to develop systems or approaches to do that is something that would have a lot of benefit probably to all of us. It's not sexy. It's not dramatic in terms of sequestration or mitigation, but for all the things we're doing, figuring out how to do it, it's a big stumbling block.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, that is, and you know, that is something, if you do have interest, that kind of is what is incorporated in the climate change education and engagement. You know, we work to develop a strategy, and then, like I said, we can help to develop some of the content for social media posts. And to be honest, I think social media is going to be, has become more and more important. I say this as a non-Facebook user, but you know, I think to reaching people, that is how people are getting information and learning about things and engaging broadly. So I'm wondering, you know, like I said, that is a component of that education piece. So perhaps if there's a will within your individual community, but you know, I could talk with Don and see if you're if you're interested in taking on another project, again, this is free for us, and we are here to be the supporting organization and provide the technical support. So it's the whole point of this is meant to allow, provide that capacity to municipalities to accomplish these things.
Audrey, is there a write-up on this so we can, folks can share it and we can describe like what you'd be providing? These are nice topics of
Yeah.
important topics to cover, but what does it mean to, like, we're starting in Ghent, we're starting a comprehensive plan or an update of the comprehensive plan. And all along I've hoped that the CARP could be used to inform that. And now you're saying there's an opportunity for direct assistance in that process, in the planning process. That's really interesting. And I'm going to, when I get off the call here, get in touch with that group and see if there's an opportunity there. But I need to be able to tell them what exactly you're offering.
Sure.
Incorporating sustainability into the comprehensive plan sounds great. The next question will be like, oh, so what does that mean? Do you have anything written up, or can you just, maybe we can talk offline about
So,
that?
the first starting place is that you may be hearing this if you're engaging in trying to get certified as a climate smart community. All of these are attached to Climate Smart Communities actions. So there is an action in Climate Smart Communities program, which is incorporating sustainability elements in your comprehensive plan. So there's initially some information there. And I think for most of these, I can provide something of a background. The education and engagement one is the only one that's like a little, like we have a prescribed proposal that we have done for the last couple of years, but that's not to say that if your community wants a emergency preparedness toolkit to be involved in, as part of that, and you want it to be printed, or, you want it to be a digital thing that couldn't be added. And, we can kind of customize your proposal based on what, your community really wants and feels the need for.
Okay. Great.
So
Well,
yeah,
if
I
you-
can follow up. Who should I send it to? I can provide like at least a small background for all of the topics I mentioned.
That would be great. You can send it to me, Maureen, or Don, and we can send it out to everyone.
Okay.
And then I'll follow up on our comprehensive plan.
Sure.
And I think that probably is good advice if there's a specific idea that Audrey mentioned that you think your town might be interested in. Then obviously time is of the essence. Follow up
Yeah.
directly. Is that okay, Audrey?
Yes, that's great.
Great.
Thank you for your
Okay.
time.
Anything? Yeah, thank you for all that work and information. Anything else for Audrey? Great. Okay. Moving along, we are the Climate Carnival. I don't think there's much to report, but I do know that a meeting happens. So I don't know if Jolene is on, or Dawn, you want to do the update?
Yeah. Just real quick, we did have a initial planning meeting just to get the ball rolling. We have a draft letter that we are almost ready to send out to folks. We just want to make sure that the MOU with CEDC was passed and everything. We just have to go through the final signing stages before we can actually accept money from any sponsors, but we are ready to send that letter out requesting for folks to help sponsor the event. We have a couple of new folks that are coming on. Elise Mason from town of Canaan, who came and participated in one of Audrey's workshops, and also Laura Canamella from Valatia, who has asked to actually be the representative for the village of Valatia. So she may be on here next year when she's appointed, but she's asked to help participate in the Climate Carnival planning process. So a couple of new folks that are interested in joining us.
Do you need more support? Do you need more involvement from more people? When are you going to have your next meeting? What's the pace and kind of schedule of meetings that you're thinking about?
Yeah, we don't have a meeting scheduled right now. We have talked to Mike Tucker, CEDC, and we may plan a site visit to the fairgrounds with him and Jolene, just to walk around and try to, figure out where we're going to put people. It may be a little bit different layout than we had last time. We have a little more space involved, but I think we have a good group. We have
Great.
these two new folks on. I'm kind of excited about that, to have a little new blood in the
Yes.
process. So that was
Always good.
Yep.
Have you sent out, or is there a plan to send out a save the date to like vendors from last time?
Yeah. Yes. I think we did do that. I think we did send out a save the date announcement to folks a while ago, but we will do that again. As soon as we have the funding, the bank account set up to accept
Yep.
donations, that we'll send out many more, announcements, requests, vendor filling out vendor sign up forms and sponsorship forms and whatnot.
Great.
So, yeah.
Okay. Supervisor Adams, right on cue. That's well, any questions on the Climate Carnival for Don first? Okay. Hello, good morning, Supervisor Adams.
Hey, good morning. And Ron sends his greetings. He couldn't be here. He's in the Transportation Committee meeting this morning. So we've lined up all of our speakers, 5 of the 6 panelists for the Climate Forum. And Liz Moran, is it Moran or Moran, David?
I think it's Moran.
Moran
Don't hold me to
from
that.
Climate Justice is going to be one of our speakers.
I think Earth Justice.
Earth Justice, I'm sorry. I'm looking at it, it's written both ways in the form that I'm reading, I'm reading incorrectly. It is Earth Justice. So Liz Moran from Earth Justice will be joining us. James Hanley from the Empire Center, he spoke at the first climate forum that was not sponsored by the county. He will be returning as a panelist. Steve Hellman from Glenn Farmland and New York State Energy will be joining us, as will be one of our personal favorites, CDRPC, Tara Donadio will be coming. And then from NISO, we have Kevin Lanahan scheduled to come. So we have one open slot, which is, we're still hoping to get someone from the Climate Action Council, and Mike Tucker is working with their executive director to identify a speaker from that organization. So we'll have 6 panelists, and supposedly we've made a big effort to have the panel evenly balanced between both points of view. And we've identified a moderator, and I'm sorry I didn't write his name down, who will be moderating the panel. Jessica, I don't know if you know, but Jessica Gable left CEDC in a week or so ago, so we're down a person, so to speak. But we have finalized an ad which will be distributed in the next week or 10 days, and there will be both a paper flyer and a digital flyer that will be finalized once we have the final list of speakers. And I just wanted to reach out to all of you. There will be 8 to 10 tables in the lobby for people to exhibit and or to talk about their various functions or opportunities within this field. And I think we've assigned one of those tables to the Columbia County Climate Smart Task Force. And David, I don't know if, because I came late to the meeting, if you've been able to talk about that and or staff that table, if that's something we want to think about. And then what we'd like to do is to have you think about other people that may or may not be interested, so that we can contact them, because the tables, Don, have we decided on how they're going to be apportioned, or is it going to be first come, first serve?
We didn't really talk about that.
Yeah, so I think if we think people are interested in displaying or having a table, we know we can have as many as 8. It's possible there may be 10, but people should, I think, Don, you're the reasonable contact person for that. People should
Sure.
let Dawn know that they're interested in having a table at the event. And
Great.
it is December 2nd from 1 to 3.
Great. Well, I can certainly think of, well, first, we need to talk about our table, the Climate Smart Task Force. Don and I discussed it briefly last week, and we have some ideas for materials and a map of the county and talking about the work that we're doing, getting signups, email signups. We'll probably need a couple people to help us. The timing of the event is Brenda.
1 to 3.
1 to 3. Okay. So the tables are really kind of staffed kind of before and after. Is that
That's right. And the building will be open till 4. So
Okay.
so people can stay between 3 and 4 to visit the tables and ask questions.
And then will people be coming in starting at noon or 12:30? Do you know?
I think if you have a table or if you're, part of the event, you can probably come in a half an hour earlier.
Yeah.
But that's one of the details that's that's yet to be resolved.
So let Don know if anyone wants to join us for staffing the table. And also we can discuss, what type of ideas for, what type of materials, information we want to have on hand. I certainly will be available to help Don. And we could probably use a couple more people. Doesn't hurt. And if we don't, at the day of, if things are slow, then we all don't have to be around. But it'd be good to have people that are planning on being there early and staying later and can talk about the work we're doing and the Climate Smart program and action planning and adaptation and all of those things. So let us know if there's anyone else that wants to join. But Don, I'll certainly be there to help.
And there's one more solicitation.
Yeah.
There's going to be a Q&A session after the speakers. So we're going to solicit people to submit questions in advance so that we can kind of put questions in piles. We don't have the same question asked 4 times or 5 times. So if any of you have questions that you'd like to ask of one or more of the speakers, again, those questions should be submitted to Don in advance.
That's interesting. So even though we haven't heard their talks yet and the discussion, just questions generally based on the topic.
Well, I think that one of the reasons the county wants to sponsor this forum is because there's so many questions about what is the impact of this regulation on me. So I think to the extent that all of us are working in the community and we're hearing these questions from our community members, it may not be our question, but it may be a frequently asked question that, our town or county climate smart committee or task force is wrestling with. So I think, for the people that can't be there, let's think about the questions they may have or the information they may need to feel either more support or more engaged with this whole planning process. I think there's a lot of information out there that is available, but that people have not availed themselves of. So, think about how to find information. If you're interested in this, how do I find that? It's those kinds of questions.
Great. And in terms of the other tables, I have ideas. I'll suggest them to the organizations. I'll suggest who I think might want a table there, but please do the same in your own work. Reach out to organizations and contacts at those organizations that let them know about this opportunity and encourage them if you think it's a good fit to contact Don. It does sound like it might be kind of first come, first serve. So let's make sure that we let people know.
And we might have people from the Climate Carnival, people that provide services and information that might be interested. I mean, I can think of the utilities that are offering a lot of incentives now. They might want to be there to talk about their incentive packages. There might be heat pump vendors that want to talk about their resources and availability because we have the heat pump campaign underway. So, also think about the vendors in the context of how they could support our current work.
Great. And make sure you get the word out, especially once the flyers come, let people know far and wide that this is happening. So it's a big event.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, great. So we had our first, this is now I'm going to shift to the tree planting campaign. So there's a group of us that have gotten together with support from the task force, with support from the EMC and these other organizations to develop a project for next spring to plant trees in the county. And we're developing the idea. We had our first meeting. There are a couple active members of the Taconic community that are involved. I'm representing our task force. Barbara Huey is representing the EMC. She's also a landscape designer and very knowledgeable in working on the landscape. Heidi Bach from CLC, another landscape expert, Shanti Nagel, Natasha Strickland from Kite's Nest, Steve Gavlik from Columbia Green Community College, Jim McDarby, high school teacher at Hudson High, and Tracy Testo Smith from Columbia Cooperative Extension. So that's our group. And what we're envisioning is that we will get some fiscal sponsorship, perhaps CLC. So we'll have somewhere where we can collect donations for this project. It's a bit ad hoc. This is an idea that we hope will work, and it will expand and maybe find a home more permanently to do these types of outreach projects, these big community ecological projects that don't have to be limited to trees or shrubs, can focus on other things as well. So and the goal really is to plant X number of trees. We're not sure what that will be. We said 1,000, maybe it'll be more, maybe it'll be less. We're going to figure that out. We're looking for locations right now, which can be host sites. So Hudson High is an idea, one or more of the public conservation areas that CLC has. There are a couple locations in the city of Hudson that we're working with folks to identify as well, and Columbia Green as well, community college. So those locations we're trying to really narrow down, and those would be the area where most of the tree planting occurs. And there'll be some opportunity for giveaways as well. So we'll be looking for volunteers to come to those sites and have a community tree planting, with education and inspiration being like kind of the focus of it all. You know, the idea that we're all coming together, it's Arbor Day, it's Earth Day, around that time, it's spring, and we're not just picking up a tree and going home, but we're doing something together. We're learning about how to plant trees effectively, about the appropriateness of different species for different contexts, about climate change and the importance of trees in our effort to fight and adapt to it. So that's and we're working on a work plan and a budget and species list and all that will follow. So we're meeting again in about a week, and I'll just keep everyone updated. We will have requests for and a need for support from you all as we develop the plan more, so we can get the word out and hopefully get big participation and for other things as well, like fundraising. Supervisor Adams.
So you answered one of my questions. I'm glad we're connecting this to both Arbor Day and Earth Day. I think that's really important. The other thing is, will we focus on native species as opposed to other species? And the other thing is, you know, DEC, for those of us who are farmers, you order trees to be planted in the spring. Are they possibly a source of trees or a partner in this endeavor? Because I know I get trees from them every year for that purpose.
Right, trees for tribs.
Right.
We're not at that point yet to have identified a species list and identified nurseries where we'll look to get these trees. And I think there'll be some discussion of whether we want to go with really small whips, which is typically what they provide, that are like 6 inches, or whether we want to spend more money to try to find larger trees. They'll still be bare root trees, but a little bit more established, maybe not less than a year, but 2 or 3 years old, that can take off more quickly and establish more easily. So it's to be determined. But yes, that's a possibility.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, good people. Planning for next year. Patrice, I don't know whether you're on, but if you are, could you give us an update on the process for the new composition of the task force? I know that requests have been made to the towns, and Don, maybe you know the answer here too. If Patrice is there, great.
Yep, she's
Yeah.
here.
Hi, I'm here. Yeah, so all the memos were sent out to each of the towns and the villages in the city of Hudson. I have received 5 or 6 firm nominations, official nominations back. And I have a few other municipalities that have stated they're taking it up at early November at their town board meetings to select a nominee. So once I have the slate, then I'll prepare that resolution request for the committee, and it'll go full board in January. That's the plan right now, as far as I know.
Okay, so it would go. When is there aren't meetings in December, if I remember correctly. Maybe
There are no
okay.
committee meetings in December, correct?
Right.
But it can be handled. I have to confirm it with Kelly, how they want to handle the appointment, if it's going to be on one resolution with all of the names or done individually as we receive them. So I do have to verify that with her, how she wants to handle that. So it's a little bit of county logistics, but that shouldn't be
Yep.
any hurdle to overcome. So
What's the deadline that you need the nominations by in order to get in front of the committee for November? It sounds like maybe you don't need to. You're not restricted by that.
yeah, no, I didn't put a deadline in there because it's really up to the municipality if they decide that they wanted to have a representative. There isn't a deadline per se. The new task force would be beginning in January. That's when the date is, but it's up to the municipal boards how they want to handle their representatives. I don't really have control over that. So, but I have heard, like I said, I have heard from towns that saying that they are getting back to me. They have people in mind, but I don't have all of them. I just have 6. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Yeah.
David,
So
the submission to a committee is the Friday before the committee meets, and that would be the 10th of November to be the Friday before the county government committee meets, and the 10th is a holiday, and today is the 9th, right? Or no, today's the 2nd, so it would be next Thursday at 9. Next Thursday, I think. But it typically would go to the committee the Friday before.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that correct, Patrice?
Yes, to be on the November, but there isn't anything in December. But a lot of times at the organizational meeting, appointments are made to for memberships and for representatives on boards during the organizational meeting. That's why I have to firm that up with Kelly to how they're going to handle this, because the initial task force was handled with one resolution with all of the members listed on that. So I'm not sure if that's the same format that will be followed for the new 2024 group.
For the the EMC is a different body, obviously, with
Correct.
statutory authority, but that gets appointed on a rolling basis. We get members that get appointed periodically. I think. I'm just wondering what's going to happen in January if there are 7 or 7 or 8 towns that have gotten around to nominating someone. Will we have a new task force with just 7 or 8 people, and then everyone on the task force here that's not part of that will no longer be participating? When would the new task force actually meet?
I believe the structure of that wouldn't change as far as the meeting dates. That's already been established. That the date of the task force meetings, and I'm not typically with boards, there's a holdover provision that would allow current members to serve until such time another person is appointed or that person is reappointed. But the fact that this task force isn't subject to open meetings law, I'm not sure if that applies to this. So that's a legal question I'll have to talk to the county attorney about.
Okay.
I also
Uh,
think, can't we just look at the bylaws and see what the provision in the bylaw was for the change, for the transition? I'm sorry, I don't have those in front of me, but I think the bylaw speaks to this, or the rules, organizational rules.
I think
Yes,
it does.
it's supposed to be one person from each municipality that's able to have be certified as a climate smart community. That's the representation plus 2 supervisors. And I don't know who the supervisors are either. That's up to, I don't know how that's going to be done. That's out of my level of responsibility. But I'll try and firm up some information about that. I don't have that right now.
Patrice, could you share with us which towns you have not heard anything from, so we can, we can let them know if if someone's on the task force here from that town, for example, we can just let our board members know, our town board members know that there is this opening, just to remind them, so you're not doing all the work. And
I know she hasn't heard from Canaan because we sent out an email soliciting interest. So we haven't responded because we're working on solicitation.
I think it's easier if I tell you who I've heard from there.
Okay.
I have nominations for Germantown. It's Matthew Mercier, for Ghent, David, Greenport, Jolene Race, for Stuyvesant, Kathy Schneider, for Village of Valencia, Laura Canamella, and I believe Ankrum is taking it to committee, and so is, or their town board, excuse me, in November. And I've heard from New Lebanon that they will be considering it in November as well. And that's all I have right now.
Okay. Jennifer, and then Susan.
Yeah, I've just pinged our supervisor in Claremont to remind him that he should have received this letter and that I would like to continue on the committee. So I'm sure I can make that happen. He probably, since we don't even have an active climate smart community task force at the town level right now, they're probably just ignoring it. So, but I'll be able to hopefully get him to nominate me.
Great, thanks. Susan.
Yeah, just so you know, Ankrum's process is done, and in October I was nominated again. So you can
Great.
take that one off the list.
Good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Bill, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
In the village, I have contacted the mayor. They're meeting next week, so I would assume that that's going to be put on the agenda. I'll talk to my liaison. Actually, before the meeting, he asked me to give him some things to throw out to the board, so that's going to be on the top of the list.
Great.
And I'll contact the town coordinator and see if she's got anybody available to take on for the town.
Great.
I know Valencia, we already got somebody. That was great.
Great. Well, that list is helpful. Matthew, go ahead.
Sorry, I may have missed something, so forgive me. Since I'm just being reappointed, does Germantown have to say something officially? Do I have to go through my town board? Did I hear that correctly?
I've
So
already
that's all your
received
town has.
nomination for Matthew.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right.
I've already
So
taken care of that.
that's
Good.
complete.
Yep.
All right.
So
Just making sure.
I'll follow up with, if anyone else has anything to add, please speak up. But we all heard the list there. If you or someone in your town or a town that you know people in is not on that list that you just heard, that it would be really wise to have some conversations and put your name forward, or if you can help identify an alternative if you're not looking to serve again. So we can, I have a feeling there's a lot more going on out there than Patrice has heard so far, but let's make sure that's happening, for these other towns. And I can also reach out individually to folks to find out what's happening if there are names.
And also just a point of clarification, I did understand from Patrice that if a supervisor does not count as a town rep, so the town can have the town supervisor can be on the committee because that's an appointment by the chairman of the board of supervisors, but there will also be, in addition, a town rep from that town. So if there's any confusion about that.
Yes, there are two supervisors, and I don't know who those supervisors will be. And then the other membership, and the membership is comprised of representatives from the towns, the city of Hudson, and the four villages. So correct, there would be a representative from, if you were to continue on, there would also be a representative from the town of Canaan. If
Okay. Great. Let's all follow up on that. And I'll reach out to people that, some of those towns that I didn't hear anything from. Anything else on the task force nominations? We are meeting in December, and well, Don first had sent out, thank you for, Don, for sending out that list. It's quite a list of actions that we're working on and that we've completed. It's quite impressive to see it like that. So thank you. I don't know if everyone saw that, but Don sent that yesterday. And I think it's helpful to focus our attention on what projects we are engaged in and perhaps look at the broader list of climate smart actions on the website, the Climate Smart website, to see, oh, well, here are some other things that we haven't really considered yet. Don, you mentioned that you'd be doing some more updates of perhaps, am I remembering this correctly, of the roadmap, or are you looking for us to provide feedback to you first on other ideas?
Yeah, well, I'm going to take basically this, this list, and I've already expanded. This is actually a simplified version of what I've got. So I do have more information on what we've been doing, but try to, generate an updated version of the roadmap, that fills in what we've accomplished since the last one was made, and include some ideas from you all as to what else we would like to do. So yes, I'm open to any suggestions that you might have.
Great. So if we can share that before next meeting and in advance, then we can have an opportunity for us individually to think about, we have a color coded scheme in that roadmap, if people remember, and some of the actions were not applicable, for the county. So they're off the table just because we don't do zoning, for example. So, certain things don't apply, but there's, what we've done, what we're working on, and then different levels of possibility of what might work would be the next phase. So we can update that. That can help us focus our discussion, I think. But if you've got particular ideas, feel free to reach out to us in the meantime to put them forward. And then in December, I'd like to have a discussion of that roadmap, ideally, and have something to go into the new year with, something to put in front of the new task force in terms of summary of what we've done, getting people up to speed on what we've done, what we're working on, and ideas for what we would like to work on moving forward. All right. Anything else? Our next meeting is December 7th. And we are looking forward to that. So I don't think there's anything else. Until then, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw out something. We had an interesting discussion at the EMC this month, and some of you may have seen the new John Feldman documentary, Regenerating Life. And several of us also heard him talk at the panel discussion at Spencertown Academy. But this film is, I find it pretty interesting and stimulating. I haven't seen it, but I've read all the stuff on the website. And for it really presents the perspective that regenerating all of our ecosystems is essential for survival. Not to downplay mitigation, but it seems like a really excellent statement. And I know some of us want to bring it to our library, and it could be that others are interested in doing something in their community. I think one of the issues is how do we present it, because it's a 2-hour film. But in any case, if other people are interested in exploring this, I'm interested in hearing from you, and perhaps we can figure out how do we use this remarkable resource. And I can send some of the links out if you haven't seen them. I'll send it to Maureen, and they can be shared.
Okay, great. Thank you, John. All right, everyone, have a great day, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you for your participation.